What up, Pittsburgh Steelers fans? It's Matty Peverill with Marky D, my co-host as always on Steelers Touch Down Under Australia. Marky D, how you doing?
I'm good, mate. I'm ready for the pizza podcast and what kind of draft toppings we're gonna draft for the best ingredients. I'm ready for it.
That's it, mate. That's it. So
today's show,
we're looking at all things. We're looking at all things mock draft. Look, if you're new to the channel, Mark and I look to give you an Australian sort of take on everything Pittsburgh Steelers, NFL, and it's definitely not just like Aussie novelties. It's just two Aussies that love talking Steelers that have had a podcast and video channel. We're doing our own one now. We had it previously with Behind the Steel Curtain Network as well. I think they're the Steel Curtain Network. Now we're doing our own thing. We're doing our own channel. If you joined us from the BTSC days or the SCN days, thank you very much. But we're always looking to grow our audience with new people. So if you like the show, hit the like button. If you want to see more of us, hit subscribe, hit the bell icon to get the notifications and customize them too. So today, mock drafts. I love mock drafts. Got a reputation amongst the Steeler community that know me. I love doing trade backs. I love playing armchair GM. Mock drafts are flavor of the month going into March and April. Mark ahead of the draft. Mark and I thought, hey, let's close out February with a first mock draft for February, but a last mock draft for February at the same time.
I got a quick question for you. Do you think Philip Rivers ever did a mock draft with his family?
That's good. That's a good one.
Like, because he's got so many kids. Do you ever think he's just like, okay, you can have the youngest one. This one might go to college.
That's a funny one. Yeah, maybe. We're going to try and do two mock drafts.
Let's go. Okay.
There's basically three platforms that you can do a mock draft on. You can do Pro Football Network's mock draft. You can do the Draft War Network's mock draft, which is currently being refreshed. It's in a beta mode for premium members only at the moment. And you can do PFF's mock draft. And there are pluses and minuses to every mock draft, and you'll see that when we do it. Pro Football Network's the one I kind of like the most, particularly around the later rounds, but they do a big update after the combine. So there's a lot of scouting profiles that aren't up there right now. And a lot of the rankings will change. PFF do one that's heavily based on having on how the public, how every one of us respond to that mock draft, and that affects the grading for different players. You have to pay to do trades. Pro Football Network, you don't have to pay to do trades. I think you have to pay to do trades or be a premium member with the Draft Network as well. But I'm not too sure how their new mock draft platform is going to work yet. It's still beta testing. I'm not doing it. So we're going to do Pro Football Network first, and then which has some trades, and then we're going to do PFF as well, where you can initiate a trade, but it becomes pretty complex. We want to give you a pretty watertight show and podcast on the audio side today. And if you do like listening to us on the audio side as well, you can find us at SteelersTDU on Anchor, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify as well. And we do know there's a good community out there that's starting to follow us on the audio side. So with that, Mark, let's get into the first mock draft with Pro Football Network. We'll see how we can get through. And if we get through both these quickly, maybe we do another one and see how we go, because sometimes it's really different in what's available. And to give context to, like Pro Football Network right now, sometimes Jalen Carter, who's meant to be a top, maybe the first overall pick, maybe a top 5 pick, he gets picked, at 14 sometimes or 16 in Pro Football Network. So that gives you an idea of how they haven't really updated it just yet. So let's get into it. So we are going to share the screen for all the listeners. All right, here we are.
That's a nice flag. Ooh, okay. All right.
Here we are. Right, so we are in the window now. We're going to pick the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're only going to pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to do 7 rounds. We'll do fast. We will recap maybe the early rounds on who was picked. But let's get going. Ready? Are we ready to let's get drafting?
Well, I'm ready to rock and roll to find out who these players are.
Here we go. So Miles Murphy taken first overall.
Who's that?
That's crazy. I can't believe that's been taken. All right, so the Steelers are on the board. Now, we've received 2 trades. We'll consider them in a moment. But let's look back on actually, there's cool audio with this, but I don't want to update it. But actually, if you do this on your phone or whatever, if you've got your sound up, the trade offers will actually sound like a telephone calling you.
Yeah, right.
It kind of annoys my fiance when I'm doing a million mock drafts in April when she constantly hears my phone ringing. It's not my phone actually ringing. But anyway, so you got Miles Murphy picked overall. That's a bit of a strange one. But he is a good edge rusher out of Clemson. Then you've got Will Anderson going to the Texans, which that could definitely happen. Christian Gonzalez goes to the Cardinals, which is kind of crazy. They have
Is that pretty
struggled
high
with
though?
quarterback.
Is that high up there for 3 for a corner? Seems high.
I don't think it is when you think about Sauce Gardner. Christian Gonzalez could test off the tape at the combine, so
Okay.
that's not completely ridiculous. I think Miles Murphy first over Will Anderson's interesting, but then maybe this is starting to maybe the algorithm's starting to suggest that the Chicago Bears will trade back in the draft. Who knows? You've got Bryce Young there at Indianapolis, which is a guy they could want. Jalen Carter there for the Seahawks. They need help across their
There's
team.
no way. I know my mate Grid from the Detroit Lions Syndicate. There's no way they're getting CJ Stroud at quarterback. They're going it's mock draft, but they're sticking with Jared Goff. They're not going to get.
Yeah, I mean, this could also be someone trades into that spot. This could be based on the players. But anyway, you got Anthony Richardson there to the Raiders. I think that's pretty high above Will Levis. Will Levis, I think Carolina would be happy with Will Levis there.
Yeah,
I think Atlanta need pass rush and cornerbacks. I don't know if they're going to pick a tackle straight away, but maybe they believe in Desmond Ridder more than all of us. Then you've got Quentin Johnston going to Philadelphia. I think that's an interesting pick for them. You got Peter Skoronski there at the Titans, which kind of makes sense. They need a tackle. He kind of fits what they need, versatility on the line. Addison goes to the Texans, which I've seen mocked quite a lot, but only when they pick Bryce Young at quarterback, because then they get the quarterback and they get the wide receiver to grow together for 5 years. Then you got Tyree Wilson. I think if the Seahawks landed him and Jalen Carter, wow, that changes their defense. That's pretty massive to land Tyree Wilson back there. Then you've got Cam Smith, who's kind of, for some people, the 3rd to the 5th best cornerback in the draft. For him to go there above some of the other cornerbacks, including Joey Porter, that's kind of interesting. And ahead of Devin Witherspoon, who like a lot of like Jalen Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks think he's the best cornerback in the draft. Jackson Smith and Jigba goes to Green Bay. I'm surprised they're picking there, given, I mean, if they're keeping Aaron Rodgers, maybe they pick him. If Aaron Rodgers isn't back, I think that's a pretty interesting pick for them to make. But we're here to pick for the Steelers. So we've got 2 minutes on the clock right now. So we've got till 9:15 to the show. Joey Porter Jr. is available, 12th ranked player. Bijan Robinson is available. Now, yeah, we got Najee Harris, but Bijan is a top 5 prospect in this draft in terms of his career potential. You got Broderick Jones, who's kind of my favorite at tackle for the Steelers. And you got Brian Breesy there out of Clemson, the defensive tackle. Other notable names are Keely Ringo, the cornerback, Trenton Simpson, the linebacker, and Brian Branch, who can play nickel cornerback and play safety. And then you get into other different prospects. So, Mark, it kind of comes down to, do we bring in Joey Porter Jr. or do we bring in a defensive tackle, or do we bring in the guy who I think is probably the best tackle for the Steelers in the draft? What do you kind of feel when I throw that to you?
Well, the way this mock is landed out, of course, all mock is going to be different, right? But the way this one's landed out, I think the Steelers would go towards maybe bringing in a bloodline like Joey Porter Jr. That could be a possibility if they like the guy. I know some people are saying he's not the fastest guy. He's not the best cornerback out there. There are better corners than him, but he might not survive until 32, what I've been reading as well for Joey Porter. Now, I haven't watched too many highlights, just going off what I've been reading articles. But for me, if it's going to be a Steeler move, that could be a possibility that Joey Porter could be there. Now, the other blokes I don't know, but at the same time, I do know positions, and we need offensive help. So would that be Broderick Jones coming to that position? And then I think more or less we talked about, I think, a few weeks ago on this channel, like the needs were there were cornerback, offensive tackle, and edge and stuff like that, or even defensive tackle. So I think they got to go and get one of those positions. But this is a funny year this year, I think, for the Steelers. We kind of knew what was happening with all the hype around Harris and the hype around the quarterback. This year, I don't know about you. I don't know what direction they're going to go. If they're going to go offensive tackle, or if they're going to go defensive tackle, or do they listen to the crowd and say, we need a cornerback room, right? I'm kind of happy, to be very honest, with the offensive line. I know people are not a big fan of it because they're not big names, but they're playing well together. I think those 5 might start next year. But if you can improve on that, fantastic. If you can't, do you go and get a Porter? Do you go and get someone like that? And someone's, I think Ringo's pretty high up there too, right? So you get a guy like that. I don't know. I'm going to use your expertise for what you would do in this situation. No idea.
I think there's more depth at the cornerback position later on. I think if Broderick Jones is on the board, to me, he's the name out of all these names that I know I can pick today. He can start tomorrow, changes the offensive line for you, changes left tackle, I think, for you over Dan.
Will he help the run game with Najee Harris? Anything to do
big
with
time.
that?
Big time. Yeah.
He
holes? Gets up in the run game. Sometimes he gets a little beat as he gets toward the second level, but he quickly fixes himself. He knocks guys over. I mean, I think they've got a scouting profile for him. Athleticism, 6'4", 315 pounds, near elite length, rotational freedom. He's got torque. He can hold defenders in place, uses length to channel awesome power. He's got great rotation through his hips, and he sends defenders to the turf. That's what I like.
To me, if I'm looking at what this offense is doing under Matt Canada, I want to see first downs, and I want to see shorter fields, which he is known for, which is like getting to a 3rd and 2 or a second and 3, right? In those runs, I think giving Najee Harris that, I'm more leaning towards. I know we need cornerback stuff, but I think they have to go towards offensive tackle or offensive line play. They haven't done it in 10 years?
Yeah.
So sure, they need that. What is he going to be a good pass protector for Kenny Pickett?
Yeah, man, he's a lockdown man. You look at Georgia. Look at Stenson Bennett. He's not a top quarterback, in a prospect in this draft. And look what Georgia did 2 years in a row.
That's one bloke who's like 25, looks 45.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
well, let's lock in Broderick Jones. Let's run the card up for Broderick Jones. Dun, 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 dun. All right, we didn't even consider the trades. The Steelers have selected Broderick Jones. All right, Drew Sanders, my favorite linebackers, gone in at number 30, and DeJuan Jones is gone. So that tells you we'll consider the trades in a moment. I don't like the look of these. No, actually, we're going to reject these. They're daft.
Daft.
But you look at, all right, so after we picked Broderick Jones, Joey Porter went to the Lions, which I have seen mocked a little bit.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. They need some more defensive help for sure.
So then Keely Ringo went, then Clark Phillips went. So we've got, I think, 6 cornerbacks gone by pick number 22. So it shows you how high they are. Bijan has been mocked several times to Tampa, and that's the position that at 24 that Najee got drafted in. And then Etienne got drafted the pick after with Jacksonville. So you're starting to see a thing when 24 and 25 teams pick running backs. So that's kind of interesting. Brian Branch went 27. And I think if the Bills got him, they'd be thrilled. And then you've got DeJuan Jones going out there. You had Antoine Harrison. So you had a number of tackles off the board. So perhaps there were 2 tackles ahead of Broderick Jones being picked. But I think if we hadn't picked him there, he definitely would have, like the Jets would have picked him up for sure at pick 20. They need a tackle. So really happy we've got Broderick Jones. All right. And interestingly, Brian Breesy, the defensive tackle that Tomlin likes, that's a guy that was in the top 5 mock drafts going into, or prospects late in the college season. He's still sitting there. You've got Luke Van Ness. You've got some wide receiver guys. You've got a Cyrus Torrance, who could make the first round by a lot of people, the top guard out of Florida. He's like 6'5", 335 pounds.
6'5".
And he's massive. He's a massive guy. But he's also young. I think he's a junior coming out of college. So,
oh man,
there's some guys on the board right now. You've got Siaki Ika. I know you've done content on him. Zay Flowers, one of my favorite wide receiver prospects. But Mark, I guess this comes down to, we can have a look at the cornerback prospects.
I've got a few questions about the guys I can see. Or if you go back to I got a few things. So you've got their, try and talk me at 32. We could go the defensive tackle, right? You try and talk me into Brian Breesy. I can kind of see that. But I did see this other thing. Isn't Darnell Washington, do the Steelers need to go out and get another tight end? Will they go and get another big guy?
They do, but there's a number of guys 3rd round and later that I like.
Isn't he like 6'5", like a massive unit that can catch the football and like really athletic?
See, it's interesting because here, I think safety could be done here. This is where you get interesting with mocks, because Dalton Kincaid, the tight end out of Utah, is considered a first rounder at this point, ahead of Michael Mayer. And Michael Mayer got picked there, as you can see on the screen, by the New Orleans Saints. Dalton Kincaid's still available in rank number 54. So this is where you start to get, Keon White at 51. People are saying he could get into the first round. Cody Mock, they're saying he's a guy that you might see at the back end of the first as well. So this is now getting into, now you start to see the mock draft show the different weightings on players.
So some of those dudes can fall backwards. I've heard there is, not the Steelers need tight end, but there's a good player like that. I heard he's 6'6" or something like that. He's a good player,
there's definitely guys. I think 32 is a little bit high for the Steelers to pick a tight end.
All right,
unless it's Dalton Kincaid. And if they know something about Pat Freemuth that we don't know about his concussions, but I don't want to start.
Right.
I want to be involved in that rumor mill. So yeah, I guess it comes down to what team needs. Like, I don't think there's a cornerback worthy of the 32nd pick. I'm being defense, and we've picked an offensive guy. I'm thinking linebacker or defensive tackle. But is there a position that you think the Steelers need to bring in?
That's what I'm thinking as well, right? So I just wanted to if the Steelers were, to find someone flashy, I think they might go and do that, because I didn't expect that Freiermuth coming in the second year, not that we need a tight end. But what I'm thinking is now at the 32nd position, you've gone offensive tackle. You've got that for your offense. It's fantastic, right? I would more or less say you need to shore up the defense somehow, some way, and I would go towards defensive tackle. However, there is a huge need for middle linebacker. Right?
Yes.
Huge need. So
there is no. So picking that up, there's some depth. Like Henry Toto, I don't think fits what we want for the Steelers right now. Noah Sewell, people have 50 on him. I like Jack Campbell out of Iowa. He's a big guy. He's like, I think 6'5", 232, 6'5", 245. Sorry, he's a big guy. He's been training with Luke Kuechly as well. He's a really big guy. Done a really good statistical production out of Iowa, known for some defense. And then there's my guy out of the Texas Longhorns, Demarin Overshawn as well. Both those guys should be there in the pick number 80s and pick number 49 for the Steelers. Okay, gotcha. So like, I think 32, I think that's when we start going, well, who's worthy of that pick? To me, if you like the injury history with Brian Brees, he has spent some time out injured. We know Tomlin, there's that photo of Tomlin smiling with him.
Was that with him? Was Tomlin was talking with him, was he?
Yeah, he was. He was smiling with him and stuff. There's a photo there on the sidelines. So I don't know. I don't want to swindle the pick totally, but I mean, I'm leading Brian Brees on this one.
That's one where I'm trying to trust you here, because I remember seeing Tomlin had he was down, and this is what I find funny about the Tomlin haters, but he's just a great bloke out there with the blokes, talking football and watching them play. Like, he was out there watching them do defensive reps, right, during the before that game they had to play, right? So I've seen the tape on, or the highlights of Siaki Ika. I think he's kind of cool, but maybe he won't fit the Steelers system. I don't know. I think at this position you have to go, I think, defensive tackle. The way it's fallen out so far, all the corners are gone. Then you wouldn't reach for a corner, right? Now,
I wouldn't reach a corner at 32. I also think if you look back at the board, we've seen one defensive tackle taken in Jalen Carter, who's probably the number one prospect overall in the draft. So to get probably the number 2 offensive tackle in the draft, I like it.
Can Brian Breesy play starter? Can he come in and start straight away? Or could he
100%. 100%. He's better.
I reckon go with him, man. 6'5", 300 pounds.
Yeah, and I think this is the thing. I don't mind Luke Van Ness, but to me, I think a team that's got a 4-3 defense is going after him, and I also think Luke Van Ness needs to put on 20 to 30 pounds to do what he wants to do in the NFL, and that means he's not ready year one. We need someone ready to year one to help out Cam Hayward. So it looks like we're bringing in Brian Breesy. So dun 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 dun, and the Steelers pick.
Thank you, Breesy. Chase Claypool. You lose,
mate. This is a great trade for Chase Claypool. All right, now this is interesting. We've got a trade offer. We've got 2 trade offers.
Ooh.
We can trade 49 and 243 to move back 5 spots, but move up like 80 spots, right, later on in the draft, which could be very helpful for us. Top 150 player with that pick. Or we can grab an extra pick right at the end of the draft, and move back 1 spot.
I think extra. That's me.
Pardon?
If you're moving 1 back player to get an extra pick, I think to me that's a logical pick. If I was,
I agree. There's no one on the board I'm desperately worried about right now. And
we need more players, man. We need more players, I think. Yeah,
exactly. All right, let's do it. And this could be where we get that backup, that third quarterback on the roster, right? Or running back late, or a tight end. So let's do that. I'm all for it as well. All right, so we traded. They picked Andre Carter's officers. Okay, now we've been offered another pick. Okay. This is what starts to happen, but this is the draft. Look how many trades happened last year. Ooh. So we can move back 11 spots, but move up 27 spots in the draft and get another top 100 player. Now, what I think we should do is have a look on who's been taken. So Osiris Torrance went, Jalen Hyatt went, Luke Van Ness went, a couple of cornerbacks are gone, a couple of linebackers are gone. Darnell Washington's gone. Ika's gone. So Ika went a whole 15 spots later. So that shows you where the sport is. Going to the trade offers and looking at the guys on the board, I mean, I'm kind of, I don't know. I don't think moving. I think the Cleveland trade's out. We reject the Cleveland trade because that was moving back 40 spots and getting a pick next year. That's not helpful for the Steelers. Carolina Panthers. I don't know, Mark. Do you take this trade? I'm going to throw it to you.
So basically, for the audio guys too, we have pick 50, pick 120, and we're moving towards pick 61 and pick 93. So you're condensing that more backwards, right? You're losing 11, but you're gaining more in the 61 and 93 conversation, right?
Let's counteroffer. Let's try and get 147 with the pick.
Oh, you can counteroffer. You can do that.
Yeah, I can counteroffer. Let's try and get 147 because if we get 147. That really dials up the narrative for me. Let's propose it. Okay, they rejected it. Damn.
Well. I don't know, it's up to you, man. Like, I think we got 11. Depends what players are there. But it's I really the tricky part for me. I don't know what they would do.
I like it because you move
closer.
You move up almost a whole round.
Okay, gotcha.
But you're still in, so you still got a second round pick, but you move from the third, like you move from the back end of the third into the you move back into the fourth into the third.
Yeah, exactly right. So
I think you got to do that.
You're moving up 27 picks basically the second one.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think you got to take that.
All right, send her away.
Or let's count up. We'll try one more. We'll try and get the 247th pick.
Right.
And they took it. it. So we've suddenly got an extra pick. All right.
Suck eggs, Panthers.
Now, with pick number 61, some guys have gone off the board. Darnell Wright, the tackle, mocked to Steelers. Dalton Kincaid's off the board. Eli Ricks is off the board. Zay Flowers is off the board. Hendon Hooker, the cornerback's off the board. Tells you everything they think about Malik Willis. With the 61st pick, the Eagles have offered us a trade for their 62 and their 250. And the Broncos have offered us pick 67 for 61 and pick 141.
So basically,
sorry, go.
Well, basically, the philosophy you're saying now is trading back to get more picks for more players and some quality players to be maybe depth and maybe spruce up the team and get a bit younger or get a bit more competitive vibes there. That could be. Is that the idea, basically?
Well, if we let's say we pick the Denver. Let's say we take the Denver Broncos one, right? I think that's the better offer, right? Mm-hmm. Let's reject the Eagles because we've got extra picks late. So reject the Eagles. You take this with Denver. You've moved back 18 spots, and we've acquired an extra 3 or 4 picks, and we've acquired 2 more in the top 150. To me, that's a bonus in a draft that's meant to be pretty deep. So I think we either accept this or we reject it, but I think the Eagles trade we don't do. I think you'd be silly not to do this. What is moving back 6 guys on the board going to do tremendously? I don't think it's going to change the game.
So basically, you're losing out, 18 spots, but then you're gaining more by getting...
We've gained 3 or 4 picks, and 2 of them have been... I think it's 3 picks, and we've gained 2 of them in the top 150.
Can have a real big day 3, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, send it away.
I love it. All right. Okay, so now look on the board.
So we missed round 2 completely. No round 2. With all
we had the first pick of the second round, remember?
Exactly right. Exactly right. Gotcha.
That's what I mean. Having that pick is so helpful. I reckon that's the pick teams will trade for after day 1. But all right. Now we've got, so remember, we've picked a defensive tackle. We've picked an offensive tackle. We still have needs at, I think, tight end, cornerback, linebacker, edge. You can look anywhere now. I think you look at guard. My favorite guard on the board still there, ranked number 82. We do have pick 80, remember. Defense, cornerback, Kai Blue Kelly. I like the look of him.
What a
Julius
name.
Brents. I've read
Sign
about
him
him. Which guy? Kai Blue Kelly.
Yeah, true Blue Kelly, mate. How good's that?
Now, going back to linebacker. You know how we considered linebacker at 32? All 4 linebackers that we talked about at 32 are still on the board.
Or your mate Jack Campbell still there.
My mate Jack Campbell's still there. Now, remember, we've got pick 67 and then we pick at 80. So we've got...
So what we've done basically is we have a really good now a spread of picks, right?
Yep. And my second favorite I love JL Skinner, but I think he's a later pick. He went earlier in this. Sydney Brown's on the board too, who's, I reckon, one of the best safeties in this draft. So I kind of think, Mark, what's your biggest need? And I'll find a prospect.
So we got the defensive tackle. We have offensive line. I guess there's still corner to be had, which probably needs to be addressed. But I still think the middle linebacker position, if they don't fill that in free agency, I think that's a real big thing that needs to happen. I think we need some
pick
spark
Jack Campbell
there.
Then. I reckon we pick Jack
Is
Campbell.
he a guy? Can he change the pace of the locker room and get people fired up? Even the guys like Miles Jack, even guys like Spillane who have been in there. Is he a guy who rev head and get things moving? We need someone who can tackle me in that position.
Listen to this. Jack listed at 6'5", 243 pounds. Campbell is a massive tackling machine who also shows good awareness and closing speed and coverage. It's hard to tell where his ceiling is, but it's a safe bet he needs to be drafted if he keeps putting up his numbers.
And you said he was linked to Kuechly as well, right?
He's been training with Kuechly all since the end of the club.
If this was real life and this was like, the two real blokes in that, and you rang me up and said, oh, they're going to get Campbell, and you talk me into it, I'd be like, fantastic. I think the Steelers need that, menace. I think it's going to be Miles Jack and Spillane there, but you have Robinson who can take maybe, learn some reps. And this bloke he doesn't maybe need to start, but get some reps. And I think it'd be fantastic the way you've been talking about
like him more as a prospect than I like Chad Muma last year. And you know how high I was on Chad Muma. So, I think that he will go. We're going to pick him at 67. He's a top 40 player in this draft.
And if we don't, he'll be drafted by someone else next.
Oh, mate, he'll get picked up, I reckon, by pick.
I reckon middle linebacker, if they don't address it in free agency, they should still, it needs to get younger, and there needs a new face there. I think we need a better present than what Devin Bush was there. Someone physical, bro. Seriously,
right,
they need. If you like him, man, to me, training with Kuechly, I say bring him in.
Let's do it. All right, we've done that. Okay, so interesting. We made that decision. As soon as we made that decision, Kai Blue Kelly was off the board. Jordan Battle, the safety, went off the board. On Papal went off the board. Tyreek Stevenson. So one thing we have done here is cornerbacks. There's some guys on the board that I like. Like I like Hodges Tomlinson. I like Darius Rush as well. Julius Brents, some people mocked him to the Steelers in the third round. I was reading his profile last night, looking a little bit of tape. I don't love him. I think he's a little bit raw. He's big. He's like 6'3", 205 pounds. Everyone loves him for the size. I don't think he's going to be the ball. Like he's going to do enough in in terms of getting the ball at what we need. But anyway, that's cornerback side of things. One of my favorite players of all this draft is still on the board here, a guy that can play anywhere in the interior offensive line. Remember, we do have Dotson coming off contract. That's Steve Avila out of TCU.
I got two questions for you, Matty. One, you talk me into Steve Avila and also the audio guys and everyone on YouTube as well. Talk me into him, why he's good to fit at this position at 80. And also, a lot of mocks have the Steelers getting cornerback so high. Why in this draft are we leaving the cornerbacks too late?
I don't think we found... Look, we could have got Porter at 17. Since then, I don't think... Because we saw 6 quarterbacks fly off the board in the first round, right?
Right.
And so with that, suddenly the cornerback, you're starting to look at guys that are end of day 2, early day 3. Now, we did see a number of cornerbacks go. So what I'm seeing so far in this mock draft is cornerbacks are being reached for. Now,
right.
To me, there's 2 prospects here. There's the safety Sydney Brown, which is I think going to almost be an upgrade on Terrell Edmonds, even as a rookie. And you got Steve Avila. Steve Avila is a guy that's like, I think he's 6'4", 330. Yeah, 6'4", 335, 334 pounds. Played at TCU, kept Max Duggan upright. Remember, TCU went to the college bowl game, the college final. Looked good all year. I liked him at the start of the year. I've done a million Steelers war rooms back when it was on BTSC about this guy. He's massive. He's a good player. He can play, as I said, anywhere in the interior, including center. I think the Steelers, that helps them, particularly when you've got like a Mason Cole. I think he's got, this is his second year on a 2 or 3 year contract. Dotson's leaving. James Daniels had a good year. This guy's a massive bloke. I think he's been performing all year. But then I also look at defense, and even if you bring back Terrell Edmonds, I look at a guy like Sidney Brown. He's about 6'1", about 210 pounds, had a really good senior bowl. He's really quick. He'll test off the charts. He made a bunch of game-rattling hits on guys and caused forced fumbles. I like the idea of pairing him up with Minka. But I also know that Kenny Pickett's got to stay upright, and we're very unlikely to have the same 5 guys play all the games. So it's a hard one for me here, but, it's kind of much of muchness. Now, remember, we are picking 93, and Sydney Brown is ranked 87. In reality, I think Sydney Brown will go before the end of the second round. So this is where a mock draft is a bit different.
In this mock, then, can we get that offensive guy and then hopefully see if Sydney Brown
that would be my plan. If this is the way it was falling, that would be my plan.
Right. Yeah, maybe try that. Maybe I think go offense and try and get Sydney Brown at safety. And like you said, it's guys for the future too. You know, we need guys at all kinds of positions for the future. So
to me, you'd kind of know if this was your last pick in the draft, the mentality I'd bring. If it's the last pick in the draft, I'm picking a Villa over Sydney Brown because a Villa can make a difference day one to the Steelers. Sydney Brown, you know, particularly if we've already brought back Terrell Edmonds at this point, Sydney Brown becomes a luxury for us or a depth piece. So
I'd probably go more offensive line then to boost it up. That keeps all the fans happy. They draft 2 guys on offensive line. It helps Kenny, helps the run game, right? Helps some depth too.
Oh, Stephen Villa in the run game, mate. Look out when he gets to the second level.
Yeah, you talked me into it, mate. I reckon that's a key.
Boom, boom, boom. Oh, and Sydney Brown was taken by the Ravens. Oh, that burns. That burns hardcore. That burns. Okay. Well, that's a risk. That's the draft. You only got a certain number of picks. Now, we also have seen 2 cornerbacks taken. Probably my top cornerback on the board has been taken. Now, interestingly, Julian Brent's the guy that everyone talks about. Still there sitting there. So teams haven't been a fan of him so far. You got Darius Rush out of there, 6'2", 200 pounds. He had a pretty good Senior Bowl as well. So you kind of like him. He's ranked at Pro Football Network 107. We're picking 93. So, you know.
3 interceptions and 15 pass deflections. You get his hand on the ball at least.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But you got some tight ends on the board.
Schoonmaker, what a name. Sign him
up. He's good. Michigan. He's come on my radar recently. He's a good player. The other one I look at too is you start looking at defensive tackle or edge guys. You've got Byron Young, Keanu Benton, Jacqueline Roy, Zach Pickens there, Colby Wooden. They're sort of my top guys to play defensive end or D tackle in a 3-4. You've got Isaiah Land out of Florida, who could be he had a really, really good Senior Bowl after having a good East-West Shrine Bowl. You like to talk about depth at the linebacker position, Mark. My only thing with him is I think he needs to put on a little bit of weight, but there's support there. I know we want support for Highsmith and TJ. You've also got Will McDonald in there. So, I mean, this is kind of that luxury with that 93rd pick, a top 100 player. Right. We can kind of go wherever we like with this now. So I'm going to throw it to you.
Right?
What position do you want to pick up? And then I'm happy to name a prospect.
I kind of want maybe a bit of a playmaker, a bit of a guy that could be behind someone to learn. But I think I keep leaning towards like the cornerback position.
Like as in an offensive playmaker?
It all depends what the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to do.
Because you've got Keandre Miller, Zach Evans at wide receiver. Probably the guy I like most here might be Parker Washington. And I will just say this. You've got Jaron Hall and Clayton Tune still on the board, the quarterbacks. And Jake Hayner. We need a backup quarterback right now. For all we know, the Steelers going in the draft without some other.
Here's a question though. Would that? I know this comes back to a lot of the fan stuff, but getting a quarterback so high, would that annoy Steeler Nation saying, "Oh, what is he going to be? Is he going to be the replacement? Can he pick it up?"
I think considering we've got pick 120. Oh no, we traded 120 out. We've got pick 141, and then we've got a 190. I think. No, we're back in the 200s. So if we don't pick a quarterback in the next 2 positions, we're picking a guy at the bottom of the board, and we'll be lucky to get Dorian Thomas-Robson
right
then. So
I'm not too sure with this one. So I still think the quarterback position is a need. But if they sign Sutton, or they have signed Sutton, then But mocking now, you don't know what's going to happen. But you sign Sutton, and I think if Wallace is there, you have Arthur Millette. I think a corner would be pretty good. But then it needs a guy. Does he start? Does he not start? This is the kind of territory where these later rounds do they start?
Yeah, this is it. So I mean, you've also got Brandon Joseph, who was meant to be a first rounder, stayed back last year, went to Notre Dame. I don't think he's the right guy for the Steelers because he's more of a free safety than a strong safety. So that's kind of.
What do you think? What do you think they do at this position at 93?
I think it's hard because I see good edge rushers on the board that are worth picking there. I also see defensive end as still a position they need to support.
You mean edge behind Highsmith and TJ Watt, right?
Yeah, but even like another defensive end, like it's kind of an open one here. It's because we've gone so offense, though. I do think you need defensive depth. I mean, Will McDonald could be a good pick here. Remember, we got Highsmith in the third round. Will McDonald, well, people are pretty high on him. I think, people think he was a top 100 player. You get him at 93. He had a really good senior ball. He was the one that, like, all the tackles said he was the hardest guy to stop. I think it's hard to go past him.
Good spot here to go edge, because I think we do need depth behind. Of course, they signed Jameer Jones yesterday in this mock draft now, but they need people like that. There's no one really behind TJ Watt and
and I think he's an upgrade on Malik Reed, even as a rookie.
Exactly, and that to me was a failed experiment. It didn't work, right? He got one sack. So I'm happy to go edge if it fits the new Pittsburgh Steelers blitzburg. You know what I'm saying? Bring that extra fight.
And I also think if you might have already got a top corner besides Sutton in free agency, edge rushers are expensive. So if we've spent money on a cornerback, this becomes a logical.
And most edge rushers want to be starters too. So if he's a rookie, he knows he's behind Highsmith. He knows 100%. He's behind TJ Watt.
We got no problems.
And what better way to learn behind those two blokes? Get a young bloke. I'm down for it. Hit that
Sounds
button.
Good. Dun, 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 dun. Still select Will McDonald the fourth. All right.
Jeez.
The fourth.
That's a lot of McDonald's.
Now it's almost 50 picks. All right. Now we got one offer from Cleveland to go back one spot and pick 2, 3, 1. I'd love to know who they're going to pick. I kind of want to say no.
Yeah, I'm kind of happy.
Now we can have a look. Now a lot of cornerbacks are gone here, so we took a bit of a risk there. A lot of edge rushers went though as well, so we did well we did well to pick the edge rusher. I think we picked one of the best edge rushers on the board from an outside linebacker position, not necessarily defensive edge. A couple of quarterbacks have gone off the board, so let's look at who's left. Jake Hayne, who I think is the best cornerback on the board, he's still sitting there. Running back, Tajay Spears is still there. They might be looking at him. Eric Gray, someone to back Chase Brown, someone to back up Nick Chubb. Looking at wide receiver, Parker Washington, maybe they need a wide receiver. Tight end, Luke Schoonmaker's there, who I quite like. I think we do need a tight end with Zach Gentry to support Zach Gentry and Connor Haywood. So there's that. If I look at safety, there's no one really noteworthy there. Cornerbacks, sort of piecemeal. Defensive tackle, Keanu Benton's there, and so is Zach Pickens. I really like Zach Pickens. I think it'd be cool to bring in 2 Pickenses as well.
Another Pickens, eh?
I don't know. I don't know if I want to trade this. I don't know. But we do get an extra pick.
Do you see us getting a quarterback at round 5 to help out the depth, or at least?
It's a bit of a reach at this point, but I do like Jake Hayner. I think he's better than Clayton Tune. So if Clayton Tune went at 140, I reckon
for the memes, as the kids say, accept the trade and see who the Browns take.
Okay.
I don't know.
I accidentally hit reject.
Well.
I can. That's all right. I can propose the trade to them.
Oh, the same one. Yeah, it's on our terms. All right,
it's on our terms. And you know what? I'm upping him too. From 231, I want 190. I'll trade you 253. How about that?
So that would be a Browns thing to do, wouldn't it?
We're going to move up 60 spots.
And they're like, that's a good trade. Come on, confirm.
They didn't take it. All right, we'll go again. We'll give them what they offered us. We'll take, actually, you know what? We'll take 142. We'll take 231. And I want a 6th next year.
You want their 6th next year? You're trying to rob them?
No, they're not up for it.
Maybe they're not up for it.
It's the new Browns. The franchise doesn't stink anymore. All right, let's do this. All right, they accepted the trade.
Right, the same one, okay.
All right, you ready? Let's see who they pick. They picked Chase Brown, the running back.
All right.
Interesting. All right, so we're back on the board.
We weren't going running back, so it works out.
Correct. What do you want to do here?
You said quarterback's too high.
I did, but the thing is, any of these 4 top quarterbacks are probably all going to be off the board by our next pick.
I want a quarterback who's not going to start though. I just want a guy that's like, I'm behind Kenny.
I know, but even Dorian Thompson, like I've been picking him in the 250s. If he goes, we're struggling here.
Mate, it's up to you, but I just don't want.
I don't know. What other position are we looking at?
Either probably corner or maybe safety to fill out the secondary. I'd probably say we've got the defensive tackle, we've got linebacker.
Riley Moss could be a good pick here. 6'1", 194 pounds. He's one of the most consistently productive defensive players in college.
Can we say you got Mossed, but in like the cornerback version? If so, I'd take it.
Yeah.
But for me, the quarterback stuff, I don't want there to be any competition. I think it's good competition, but I want to say, man, it's Kenny's team. And
then there's this guy as well, Mekhi Garner, who's like 6'2", 215 pounds out of LSU. They call him a sleeper.
Yeah, but if we're getting
he's physical coming up to the box and can carry momentum downhill with straight line explosiveness. I haven't watched too much of him.
I like that, but are these guys starting or are they just getting involved in the?
I think we're at depth now at 140. I mean, This is why I like the idea of a tight end or a running back to help out that room. Like I love Roschon Johnson, my Texas Longhorns. I love him. But yeah.
What about tight end? I think tight end could be a need as well. I think
you got to pick Shoemaker based on who's on the board.
But then I'll be having Muth, Gentry, and Haywood there. Plus, it's really difficult, right? What do you think?
It's hard. I mean, if Warren hadn't had such a good season, you'd see a running back. I think it's hard with cornerback. I think the fact that Keanu Benton's still on the board is really good for but we already picked Brian Breesy, so
it's on you.
Oh man, I'd probably take Shoemaker.
All right, it's a cool name too. Shoemaker.
Or Payne Durham.
I'm keen to see what we have picked at the end because I'm kind of forgetting as well along the way.
Yeah, I pick Shoemaker. I'll take Shoemaker.
All right, another tight end to make competition there.
Get younger there.
You never know. Haywood might.
A lot of running backs. The quarterbacks just went off the board.
Haywood might be more of a fullback too. You never know that kind of style as well, right?
All right, now we're all the way at pick number 230.
Jeez.
Cool. We've got Malik Cunningham on the board, who I like. That's a running quarterback. We might want to consider that. That's another Josh Dobbs pick. Let's have a look at in terms of overall ranking. Yes, he's the third best player on the board right now. We haven't. It's Moro Ajomo, who's probably going to actually go in the top 100. He's there as defensive tackle edge rusher. That's really awesome as well. It's just funny because I thought cornerback was one of their top needs. We haven't picked a cornerback yet.
I know. Just the way it's gone, right?
Safety, there's a couple of guys there. I probably would take Malik Cunningham here. I think you need a quarterback. He's the best quarterback on the board for me. But I do like Ajomo as well. I'm keen to see. He would be gone already. He's not realistic.
Yeah. I'm keen to see a quarterback as well because I think Mitch is gone at this time, and I think Mason's gone as well. So you need someone to come in and then
let's take Malik Cunningham then.
All right, let's do that to crack. And then we've got another pick here. Sweet.
We got another 3 picks.
There you go. 3 picks to go. So, yeah, we've completely been on the idea of cornerback, but I feel pretty good looking back at some of the guys we had got in the
we've gotten better.
You know what I mean?
Definitely gotten better. I think I'm just trying to find guys that I'm actually aware of this late in the draft that I'm open to them drafting. I think it comes. This is now where the Steelers scouting department come to the fore. I don't think Ajomo's there, but I think Keandre Coburn's there. So I would take him. I think he's a pass rusher and a run stuffer. That's what I would say.
So another tackle that's because some of these guys can also be cut, can't they? Or they won't make the team, right?
Correct. This is the guys that you don't want to be an undrafted free agent. I reckon you go get. Yeah. I would go get him.
Grab Coburn.
Right. All right. Now we go again. And we're not going to get to a PFF mock draft. We're going to have to try that on our next show.
No, it's another show. This has been fantastic.
It's a good way to learn the guys too.
Big time.
We haven't picked a safety. I think that's an interesting concept in terms of the safety position. I think cornerback, Noah Daniels out of TC is probably the guy I see the most here. Linebacker, I do think you probably want to consider
a receiver. We haven't done a receiver either.
We haven't. Yeah, I was going to say, do you want to do a receiver or a running back? Because I really like Evan Hull out of Northwestern. I think he showed something during the Senior Bowl.
So right now, if there's no third running back, we have I guess Snell's there. But yeah,
No,
if we have
is this Snell's last year, or does he go? I thought he was.
Well, Snell's a free agent, but so we got Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, number 2. I wouldn't mind seeing like a playmaker, you know what I mean, a running back receiver, something like that.
I don't know. He's probably not fully that guy, but he's probably more of a Jalen Warren sort of type.
Put him in camp though. Put him in camp and see what happens. Like I said,
look, you need running backs. That's the thing. You need running backs.
Yeah.
Let's just take. I do take him usually around this spot anyway.
Is our last pick 247?
Yeah, 2-4. I don't know. We got 253.
I don't know. We have to get a corner at some stage, don't we not? Can get a corner.
Just do the whole draft. I'll have to change the title of the show. No cornerback drafted. Yeah, I think if I look at the cornerbacks, I think we'll just take Noah Daniels out of
yeah, give that a crack. So at least we got him on the staff there, because that's also a need the Steelers got to pick. But the Steelers got about 4, 5, 6 needs for this team anyway. So it depends what direction they're going to go.
Actually, I wonder whether the tackle from Old Dominion's out available still, because he's a good player.
Did you choose anyone yet, or no, you didn't?
No, I haven't chosen anyone yet.
Okay.
Do you have a suggestion?
I just keep thinking corner because we've it hasn't been addressed yet. But at the same time, it's so late in the draft now. They're not going to be
all right. Let's pick Darrell Lutter out of South Alabama.
Oh, I got that done. All right.
No, I'll pick Noah Daniels.
He's the bloke that you know, right? So yeah, give him a crack.
Top ranked guy on the board. All right.
2 because okay.
I don't know him that well, but anyway, we've got 1 pick left. Oh,
we got 1 left now. All right, for me, I'm choosing a funny name, the funniest name I see, but I don't know what you think about what you did for the very last pick.
Okay,
you got a quarterback.
Funniest name you see on the board?
Well, you got the quarterback already, haven't you? We got quarterback. Already. We got most of our needs, haven't we?
We have. Now the Steelers did talk to Holton Ayers, but I mean he's a 470th player. I don't really want to draft him.
Wait, can you go back to the all so I can see who they are? Yeah. I don't know if you can bring it up. You can't bring up a summarized version of what we picked at, can you? Not this app.
I can, yes.
Okay, here we go. All right. So for the audio listeners out there, we have Broderick Jones at 17, Brian Bracey at 32, inside linebacker Jack Campbell, which I like too. Really strong top Steve Avila, 80, guard, Will McDonald, the edge behind Alex Highsmith.
Yeah, so this is the thing. 93 with the first 5 picks. By trading back, we've got 2 additional picks, and we've got 5 starters, or at least the second guy on the depth chart.
Basically, we ignored the cornerbacks. We've got every other need there, pretty much, in my opinion. Luke Schoonemaker for the tight end is going to be, in the mix of like Gentry, who's competition-wise, who's going to be...
He'd be better than Gentry, I promise you, starting Gentry tomorrow.
And we have Malik Cunningham, backup quarterback, or trying to be the backup there. And then you said Keandre Coburn, defensive tackle, a guy who can try and make the team. Evan Hull is running back, and Noah Daniels, cornerback. So for me, we've got a lot of picks, a lot of people. I'm happy to get the best player available, to be honest, the funniest.
You could try and trade it for someone in next year's draft.
But then we can't pick anyone.
Or, you know what's more fun? Let's trade it to the Saints and pick Mr. Irrelevant.
All right, let's do that. Yeah. Give him that. Yeah. Get our own.
We'll also take next year's 6th. They didn't take it. We're going to have to offer a bit more than that, Mark. We're going to have to offer 253, which is what this is, our 7th round pick for next year's 6th and pick number 260 this year. They didn't take it.
Mate. They don't want it, mate.
They want to pick Mr. Irrelevant. They want Brock Purdy, the 2nd. Can I throw out a spanner in the works?
Punter. Is that where you're going? I don't mind competition. You might as well get him here than the draft, the undrafted guy.
Let's take Chad Ryan, the one that we'll just take the top guy on the board, Michael Turk. There you go.
Yeah, okay. Fairness.
All right, so we've finished the draft there. We've got a lot of picks. We had 5 picks between 231 and 253. We had 11 picks overall in the draft, so let's recap them. Broderick Jones, offensive tackle, 17. Brian Bracey, 32. Jack Campbell, 67. Steve Avila, 80. Will McDonald, 93. Luke Schoonemaker, 142. Malik Cunningham 231, Kendra Coburn 236, Evan Hull 243, Noah Daniels at 247, the cornerback, Michael Turk, the punter, at 253. That's the results. We're gonna have to do PFF another day, Mark. But I think in sort of a minute or two, how do you feel about that draft? Because I think it's what we just talked about. I feel like we've got 4 or 5 starters there.
I like the top 5. I thought that was actually really difficult near the end, trying to manage between getting a corner, getting all the needs at the same time. Other teams are getting people. So shout out to the Steelers coaching staff and everyone like that and their owners trying to figure this stuff out. Omar Khan. I was actually quite difficult to try and get needs for the team. I don't know about the players, but needs is just very difficult. We've got Broderick Jones there, offensive tackle, fantastic. Breesy, defensive tackle, we need them. We need middle linebacker. Got that. 3 needs. We've got more backup as well on the offense. Then we've got an edge behind Highsmith and TJ. Needs, right? And then
you know what else is cool? Like we've got 5 guys in the trenches. You know what I mean? Like we're set there.
That's what they want to build
around our playmakers.
Tomlin and Khan have been talking about that. Sonos Rooney is building back to the trenches and getting help there with Cameron Hayward too. So I think it's a pretty good draft. The first top 5 makes a lot of sense when you're talking me through it. And the other ones are just guys that I got to learn more about. But
I love the nicknames we can have with these guys too. We can have Easy Breezy. We can have Campbell's Chunky. We can have McDonald's on the 4th. Like
Shoemaker's a good one, mate. Shoemaker's unbelievable. So no, I like it. I like the offensive line and defensive tackle as well. And I think the big one that if we do go and get Jack Campbell, somehow he falls our way. I think you need a physical presence there, and that's going to be probably Spillane starting next to Jack, and then Robinson and the rookie sparing and having a go. I think middle linebacker needs to be better than the last 2 or 3 years. No guy since Shazier has done anything, really, in my opinion. So that was cool, man. It was a really good exercise, eh?
Exactly. Yeah, man, it's exciting, isn't it? It's a cool thing. We'll have to do the PFF one soon. Next time we'll have to go a little bit quicker through, but I think what I wanted to do with this mock draft, each mock draft is different. And I think we were really realistic. Like I told you, we can't pick a guy at 227 that's a top 100 player in the draft. Now, Jack Campbell, he could slip to 67, which is why I thought he was acceptable there. Steve Avila is about anywhere between top 50 to top 80 player. Will McDonald will get picked anywhere between 70 and 120. So Shoemaker, we picked him about where he is. Malik Cunningham will be a 6th rounder, 7th rounder anyway. So we're pretty realistic. I like this as well because Brian Breesy, we got him at 32. He's going to be on that cusp anywhere between sort of 15 and 35. But this kind of showed you how the draft can shake out. And the other thing I think that we showed too, which is pretty cool, that is, and I think we'll see this more from Omar Khan than we did with Colbert, is from Kevin Colbert, is that you can trade back twice, 10 spots or something, and acquire extra picks. And look at the difference that makes, particularly in the middle rounds. You fill a bunch of needs, and and not losing anything out from that. So I think it was pretty interesting by moving from 49 to 67, and moving back from so by moving from 49 to 67, we picked up 93. We moved back 20 spots to 142, but we picked up a couple of guys in the 6th and the 7th, or picked up a couple of 7th rounders.
And still, by moving back with 67 and 80, you still get needs that are pressing needs there on the left-hand side for guard position near Dotson, and in the middle linebacker position for sure needs improvement. So by moving back and getting players that fit your scheme anyway for the Steelers makes a lot of sense, in my opinion.
And that's the idea of the draft. The draft is to fill needs with youth and cheap dollar value. All great players, right, man. Yeah. We just built a 10th of the roster out, right? Think about that.
Let's do it again. Nah.
let's do it. We'll have to do another one this week. I think this is cool to do it this week. I think it's cool to do these before the combine, because once the combine happens and all these people re-update their algorithms, I think the whole thing changes. But hopefully we did a good enough job on the audio side. I'm gonna go listen back for the audio because I want to make sure that we talked about the numbers enough. I think it's quite a visual thing when you do a mock draft, but we'll try and make any improvements we've got to make there. But as always, it's just a pleasure to join Steeler Nation, to talk draft, to talk free agency, to talk team building, to do it together. And this is the kind of cool thing is, like, I feel like you and I were able to replicate a little bit what happens in a draft room, where there's the scouts that know the players, and then there's other people on the team that are like sitting there going, well, does this fill our need? What does this mean for the rest of the players? I think but there's two ways of looking at every pick. Who else is there on the board? And I think what I loved about the way you brought into the draft, Mark, is like, what are we losing if we pick this guy? Because it's, opportunity cost. You pick one guy, you don't get on. Like, we didn't pick Joe Porter Jr. We picked Broderick Jones. When there are other tackles on the board, we could have got a tackle at 32 and 49.
Yeah.
Changed the whole process of the draft.
Because then we would have been getting the tackles later in the draft or whatever.
And we could have got that tackle, but would we have got Brian Breesy, a defensive tackle, which was a big hole for the Steelers in the run defense? Would we have got Jack Campbell? We wouldn't have, right? So, our defense just got upgraded like 10% by those two players.
Must be one of the most stressful days in all as an organization that that if you get it wrong, you're stuffed up.
That's it, man. That's it.
Must be really. I'm getting all sweaty thinking about this kind of stuff. It's shout out. I know we always say that guy's a bust, but it must be one of the hardest jobs. I know they get paid millions of dollars, but it's like, dude, you're changing people's lives, and they get 10 minutes. We had enough time there, so that was fun, man. Bring on Jack Campbell. Want someone to smash someone.
You have to do a reaction video of Jack Campbell and stuff. But with that, that's going to close out this episode of Steelers Touchdown Under, a first mock draft to close out February. And as I said, if you like the show on YouTube, hit the like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. If you're on the audio side, we're going to come at you regularly through the RSS feeds on into your podcast. So what that means is you just open your app, you should get a notification. Give us a rating as well. That helps boost us up too. And we're excited to bring you more Steelers content from here on in.
Go Steelers.